What is it? What is it? What? What? We're at episode 7 of Strange New World Season 1. This episode is The Serene Squall. May I say an interesting title? The title was short, sweet, to the point, and intriguing. What's a serene squall? Is that some kind of weather thing? Or is that a ship? Turns out it was a ship, actually. And we're going to find out what went on with that ship when we get down into Strange New Worlds Episode 7, The Serene Squall. What's going on in this episode? As I usually do, I'll give you my general feelings up front. For those of you who don't have any time or patience, I understand. People are busy. And this episode gets busy. Strange New Worlds, so far, Season 1, has been middling. It's scarcely reached the level of a halfway decent TOS episode. I will say that this episode is possibly my least favorite, that being The Serene Squall, tied with Ghosts of Illyria. Again, the episodes I tend not to like are the ones with strange canon implications. Before you write something into a show, you should think about how this affects the future, how it affects the past, not just how it affects the present. Sometimes, just getting something fun on screen is not worth the canon you have to deal with later. With Ghosts of Illyria, we found out that Una was a superhuman. Now we have to remember that whenever we see her again. Gets difficult to keep up with these things. And now canon implications with the Gorn. And now another character I'm not going to spoil yet. When you see this review all the way through, you know who I'm talking about. Digging something up from past Trek, similar to Picard. In Picard Season 2, we dug up Gary 7. Remember the supervisors or overseers or whatever? From, frankly, an episode of TOS I want to forget. Now we're digging up something from a TOS era movie that I kind of want to forget. But maybe you think differently. So, let's get down into it. Well, you see, we're on the edge of Federation space, and that makes sense. The Enterprise should be on the edge of Federation space. I think it's more exciting to be away from Starfleet. It's boring being in a mothball fleet like I am for most of the time, where you're just going from point A to point B and nothing really happens. But in this episode, we're at the edge. We're at the frontier. Isn't that amazing? It's right in the Enterprise manifesto there. You know, space, the final frontier. Well, we're there, and we're talking about putting out subspace buoys to boost our communication signal, as you do. Okay. And why are we here, right? Well, we picked up Dr. Aspen, and this character is a Federation, like a non-Federation counselor or civilian counselor. She used to be in Starfleet, and I say she, but I don't know if they said that in the episode. I think they said they. So from now on, I'll just be referring to this person as Dr. Aspen. And I looked through Memory Alpha, and I watched the episode 3 times, and I couldn't figure out what they were calling that character. So I'm just gonna say Dr. Aspen, just to be nice here. Dr. Aspen used to be in the Federation Starfleet as a counselor or something, and has now left. And then at dinner with Pike and the command crew, she says something like, "Well, not everybody that needs help is lucky enough to be in the Federation." And Pike is just like, yes, I agree. This is the second time now Pike has seen someone throw shade at the Federation, directly or indirectly, and this is the second time he's had no rebuttal. You know, you don't get to be captain without having a few arrows in your quiver to throw at people who are throwing shade at the Federation. I'll just say that, okay? I would have said something like, well, the Federation is trying. We want to have help for everybody who's not in the Federation. Could it be that they didn't want to be in the Federation of their own volition? I would say. But no, we're just letting Dr. Aspen get away with it. As Pike is wont to do now. Pike is... He's a cowboy on the away mission, and he's a shy little rodent in person. Like he's shy against people challenging him with words, but then when he has to shoot them, he's just cowboy mode. I don't know what this means. I don't know what the implications of that are. Have you picked up on that? It just feels like we're trying to steal Kirk but make it worse. And in this episode, they even call him a Boy Scout. They called Kirk an overgrown Boy Scout. You remember that one? A long time ago? Well, now they're stealing that and reappropriating it for Pike, as if I don't know. Are we trying to replace Kirk here? He's just doing like a Kirk impression, but with more cheesiness and more ham, and at the risk of seeming less believable? Am I alone in thinking that Pike is starting to become a cartoon character here? He's starting to feel like he's not a real person. He's starting to, like... You don't just look danger in the face and say, like, let's discuss it over dinner. I don't know, boys. I don't know about that one. Dr. Aspen basically is delivering us the plot here. There's a colonial ship that has wandered into pirate space, and according to Pike, this area is the wild, wild west of space. And he says, wild, wild west. Does anybody remember what that means? This colonial ship is like low on resources, low on food, and I get the impression that she has some kind of connection with them. Maybe they were former patients of hers. She was working outside Federation space to help these people. I don't remember exactly, even after having just watched it again. But suffice to say, we need to get food and water to these people, okay? Yeah, I know. What is it? What is it? What is it? What? There's a cat. There's a cat on the bridge right now. That we just allow to walk around to catch mice. Go eat the mice. What is it? What is it? What? What? Spock has indicated to Captain Pike that we are exiting Federation space. In order to save this colonial ship, we need to go outside of our jurisdiction. What does that really mean in context? Well, anything we do outside the Federation border is now the responsibility of the captain. So this is on the captain now. Totally, right? We can, inside Federation space, the Admiralty can interrupt the command structure to create a safety net for the hierarchy of officers on a ship. Okay? When we're leaving Federation space, anything we do is now ours. We own that now. Okay, so we need to be on our best behavior. Keep that in mind. We're leaving Federation space to help this colonial ship. And they do so simply because Dr. Aspen more or less points out that slavery is all over the place, and they could be, pirates could be selling these people into slavery. You don't know. So he says, like, I'm not about to see these people being sold. I'm not about to see these people get sold to slavers, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so just on a whim, that these people might be being sold into slavery. We don't know. We send our message to Starfleet and get the heck in there. It takes 2 days to get a message back, so let's own the problem and go in to the wild, wild west, as we pointed out. It's ours now. It's our problem now. We just left Federation space. Hope you know what you're doing, Pike. I doubt it. But we go in there, and what happens? We're trapped in, what? A Tholian web? No. It's not a Tholian web. We all know the Tholian web. Look it up. But this is a laser net put out by what amounts to the space pirates in this episode. And it's like, we have nowhere else we can go. We're stuck in this. We're trapped here. And guess what? We beam down a tiny crew to what we thought was the colonial ship. So we're reading the life signs. There's like 30 people there. Let's beam down like 5 people. What could go wrong, right? Not thinking that the ship, actually the colonial ship they're going to, is a pirate ship. And they've been tricked. And as they beamed out, they beamed pirates into the Enterprise. And I kid you not, we have pirates on the bridge of the Enterprise in like 5 minutes. You gotta be joking. We needed like 4 or 5 scenes of them trying to get into the bridge. Do you know the security officers you'd have to run through to get to the bridge? It's not easy, but they make it look easy. But a major theme of this episode is stupidity. Who's more stupid, me or you? I thought I was smart. I got tricked by you, and you're stupid. So who's truly stupid? Right? I'm stupid. You're stupid. In order for this plot to work, I have to be even stupider. So we're in a race to the bottom. These are the stupidest, most ill-equipped pirates of diminutive intelligence you could possibly imagine. They board the Enterprise, get to the bridge, and then proceed to get tricked again into losing. We'll get into that later. So what am I supposed to take from that? Now you think about it. Like, wow, these are the dumbest pirates ever. They just beat me. Okay, so they must be smarter than me. I guess not really, because I just tricked them back. So we're dealing with like a 40 IQ versus a 45 IQ plan here. In order for this plot to make sense, everybody involved has to be room temperature stupid. I'll just point that out. And these pirates, they're on the bridge, they're taking control of everything, but we need the command codes, right? The ship is on lockdown because the captain is on the colonial ship, okay? Which we now know is the Serene Squall. That was the trick all along. You see, we had, oh, poor me, the colonial ship, people are gonna starve. I'm just gonna massage your emotions into allowing you to take the Enterprise into non-Federation space, get it captured by pirates, and almost lose control of the starship by saying that people might get sold into slavery, that Pike admittedly says he doesn't care about what happens outside of Federation space. As you do, we can't police the universe itself. And yet we lose the Enterprise. Pike, Una, basically all of the bridge staff we know of are on a Serene Squall, captured essentially by the crew of the Serene Squall, who were masquerading as colonists who were starving. Nasty behavior, don't do that. And might I add, the internals of the Serene Squall just looked awful. I was shocked. They just took a set that they use for planetary excursions and just pretended it was a ship. It's cavernous, it's voluminous. This is these poor colonists, where did they get off having a ship where you can hear an echo inside? If you look inside this ship, it's massive. You'd be forgiven thinking you were in some huge warehouse on a planet. And it looks like there's steel beams and what appeared to be like a dirt floor. Am I going crazy here? Am I taking crazy pills? Or is the inside of this ship a holodeck? imitating a Earth warehouse. Very disappointed with the set design on the Serene Squall, and the ship design just looked like garbage. I guess it's fitting for a pirate ship to look like garbage, but this one, I didn't even want to see any more of it. It looked blocky and ugly and forgettable. Far cry from what we used to see in Star Trek, right? Where, like, every alien ship that you saw, you just immediately wanted a figurine of it because it was so cool. Wow. Anyway, how are we going to get out of the situation in the Serene Squall? Well, you do what you'd think you would do if you were a 10-year-old who saw one episode of TOS and then didn't watch the rest. Okay, what do? Well, we're going to start a mutiny. Like it's a cartoon. Just like on Alpha Braga 4, Una says, and Pike's like, yeah, we're going to do an Alpha Braga 4. What did they mean by Braga, right? You know, people who know stuff about Space Track know that Brandon Braga was a previous showrunner or co-showrunner on Star Trek from a much better era. It's amazing that we can look back on that now and think nostalgic thoughts for it. I can remember when Brandon Braga was considered a harbinger of doom for Star Trek. And now I remember people not liking Rick Berman. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure they named this previous mutiny attempt after Brandon Braga. Where else would you get Alpha Braga 4 from, right? So part of our attempt to waylay the crew of the Serene Squall is to cook for them. I kid you not, we are cooking for the crew. You call this slop food? Blah. It's an Orion specialty, the Orion character says, who looks nothing like an Orion. This is the cheapest looking Orion I've ever seen. Just being honest with you. He's small and looks like he's just painted green. He did not feel green to me, insofar as someone can feel green. But he wins over favor with the crew by cooking them food, because they haven't had good food in forever, because they're pirates, right? And we all know pirates from pirate movies. They don't eat good food, and they dress like crap, right? Our mateys, we don't have any good food to eat. Can you help us with some food? Well, I thought, and you'd probably think too if you're watching this episode, that we were going to beam some supplies from the Enterprise to cook good food, but no. Pike just uses his superior cooking ability to use the ingredients they already have to make good food. I'm not a chef, but I know that like 80% of cooking is having good ingredients. I don't think if you have bad ingredients like they had, you could make good food no matter how good your cooking was. Maybe they had all kinds of good ingredients, and the Orion guy just didn't know what to do with them. Maybe, but in my experience, that's usually not the problem with cooking. Maybe you thought differently. Maybe you figured that, oh, they got beans and whatever here. Well, on this Orion run alien pirate ship, perhaps not. So we win over the crew with cooking. It's as unbelievable as you think it would be. I didn't believe it. You probably don't believe it. But somehow we did win over the crew, and Pike is now in control of the Serene Squall. I have no idea how we installed a mutiny this fast, but we did it somehow, guys. And as if by magic or remote control, Pike is now on the up and up with the crew. And guess who's on the down and down? It's Spock. Spock is stuck back on the Enterprise with Dr. Aspen. They managed to get down to engineering after they've lost control of most decks of the ship to the pirates, although they can't do much with the lockdown on. So after a conversation between Aspen and Spock about you-know-what Discovery-style emotions, we figure out that we need to transfer command functions of the ship to engineering, which has been done before in Star Trek, except this time Dr. Aspen, you guessed it, Dr. Aspen actually is the captain of the Serene Squall. Her real name, Dr. Aspen's real name, is Angel. Remember Season 2 of Discovery? Remember the Red Angel? Yeah, dude. I want to be reminded of that again. Yeah, let's remember Red Angel. Okay, dude. And then it's like the Red Angel meets Osira from Discovery season 3. Remember Osira from season 3 of Discovery? The Orion girl who was like leading the Emerald Chain. It's like that plus like Red Angel in name only. I'm picking fun. Like I'm really being picky here, but when she converts into Angel, I thought this character was super cool, and I believed it. They tricked me. I thought Dr. Aspen was who Dr. Aspen said they were. I was wrong. So good job on behalf of the actor, because they sold me on the idea. They converted into Angel, and they were really chewing the scenery, and they turned into a hammy, fun villain that you would expect to stand opposite Pike, right? We have a hammy, fun Cavalier captain and a hammy, fun, unpredictable villain. Hopefully this isn't the villain for this season, and we don't Discovery this crap up and turn it into a multi-episode long slog through trying to find Angel. Where's Angel? Get back here, Angel. Where's Angel going? Just to make you watch more. It's just a trick, It's just a trick these days, guys. We just want you to watch more. Nothing happens in these shows. If a show is not episodic, they're just tricking you. They're just tricking you to watch more. It's just a page turner. It's just at the end of every chapter, we find another dead body, and oh my gosh, who done it? Or holy crap, we need to find this guy, and he disappears mysteriously at the end of every episode, like it's Scooby-Doo or something. That's my prescription for Star Trek now, is that if it's not episodic, don't watch it. If it's going to be serialized or whatever they say, and just be like a 10-hour long movie, just immediately nope out of that. It's just a trick. We're just tricking people. Back in the day when we had one Star Trek show, it had to work. It had to work episodically, and that was our flagship show, okay? Now, we can just have 5 different a big buffet table of slop, and that didn't work? Oh well, throw it away. We're just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And it's a shame that happened to Star Trek, and it's a shame that it had to go on this tangent, but it bears repeating that Star Trek succeeds in episodic format now. I've just admitted that now. I'm done with huge season-long story arcs. It doesn't work. It might work if you have a few brain cells to rub together, but that's a little bit much to ask from our current crop of Star Trek creators. That being a writer's room with like 100,000 people in it and like 20 million executive producers. You could like take a graph. You could show like a graph of modern Star Trek, and it's like 20 executives, 15 writers, like 5 people on the VFX team, and like 1 person who cares. It's like the inverted triangle. Well, we need it to go like this, right? We need like more of that, less of this. We don't need 1,000 executives and 1,000 writers. And I mean, these people, not to throw shade at them, a lot of them don't have a lot of credits to their name. And I know I brought this up before. I understand we need to cut our teeth on shows. But is Star Trek the place for that? Maybe it is if you're making like 20 different Star Trek shows at a time. A mile wide and an inch deep? Is that modern Star Trek? Back on topic. Sorry if I get heated about this type of thing. But Aspen is our villain. And what was her plot all along? Dr. Aspen's plot all along. Well, we're not necessarily stealing the Enterprise, although we are in the process. We're stealing Spock. What's that about? Well, if you remember the beginning of this episode, it started at the Vulcan Rehabilitation Center, which is named a very hard name to pronounce for humans, so I'm not even going to try to do it here. And T'Pring is talking very odd about this rehab center at the beginning of this episode. She's basically implying that if you're not in rehab as a Vulcan and you've denied logic, you are not civilized. That's quite a claim. Just because you're a Vulcan and you don't like logic, you're not savage. Like, that's not... So I'm waiting for T'Pring to get hers, to get her comeuppance. But T'Pring is on this rehab retreat, and then now we're seeing her come in again later in the plot. T'Pring again is bookending both ends of this plot, and T'Pring just keeps coming back in this show. T'Pring is a major character in at least 3 of these episodes. And we've only had 7. And Uhura is gone, Hemmer's gone. Main characters just seem to disappear in favor of T'Pring, who shouldn't be there. But this is the Strange New Worlds continuity. This is not the TOS continuity, so I guess it makes sense. T'Pring is here, and she, Angel is sending T'Pring a message. We're going to make a trade. I'm going to trade Spock, your fiance, for my fiance, who turns out is not dead. Guess what? You can count down the seconds till we get a sob story. We met Dr. Aspen earlier. Oh, my husband was a Vulcan. He was killed, blah, blah, blah. Well, you subverted me. I thought you had a tragic backstory, and I hated that. And now it's not so tragic. But I still hate it for other reasons. And you'll see why in a moment. T'Pring isn't crazy enough to make this trade. Really? Are we going to trade Spock for Zavirius, this character that Angel wants to get out of the Vulcan Rehab Center, and let Angel take the Enterprise? Surely not. Spock and Chapel devise this scheme where they pretend to be in love and they kiss directly in front of the view screen with T'Pring, so that in the hopes that T'Pring will end their marriage and then make it so T'Pring won't make the trade and therefore not give the Enterprise away to Angel. And, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Which is exactly what Angel says. I'm in agreement with you, Angel. You gotta be kidding me that this didn't work. Like, oh. Again, it's just a battle of the stupid. Who's more stupid, Angel or T'Pring? Angel thinks that she can trick T'Pring into trading Spock for Zavirius, as they say, and she gets the Enterprise. And trade offer. I get the Enterprise, you get Spock. Sound fair? I'm a non-Federation pirate, and I'm getting the Enterprise. And you're getting one person. Trade offer. That's how Mafia works. Okay? That's how piracy works. I get everything, you get nothing. Who's more stupid? And then T'Pring just pretends to believe that Spock is in love with Chapel. They pretend to get a divorce, and Angel's like, oh, god dang it, and then beams away with her little bracelet thing. She beams away onto a nearby ship that the Enterprise never noticed. And, oh my god. I don't know. I was starting to like it by the end, the insanity, the hamminess, and the ridiculousness of this plot. I started to have fun by the end once I just let go of my inhibitions with this and just start to accept the nastiness and the cheapness of it. Spock, like, biffing a pirate across the bridge like a maniac. Like, he could... The nerve pinch was working on them, and then the last guy, he just throws him across the bridge like an animal. And insane conversations between Spock and Chapel, where Spock is saying that T'Pring wants to research human sexuality. Don't mistake my laughter for me having like exorbitant amounts of fun. I'm laughing with it and at it, if you can understand my drift here. Pike is shown commandeering the Serene Squall, and it literally has like a giant wheel to control it by. A wheel on a spaceship. and the TOS theme is booming, and the set looks disgustingly shitty for the Serene Squall bridge, and the Serene Squall has a giant wheel that he's controlling it by, and it's like, it's just a cartoon. We are in Cuckoo Bananas cartoon world. Maybe you like it, I don't know, but what really put the poopy cherry on the poop cake for me in this episode is right at the end. I believe Zavirius is using an assumed name. I think I know who this Zavirius Vulcan is. Who is it? As soon as I guessed who it was, I was saying, oh no. Oh no, 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 no. No, 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 no. Oh no, 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 no. And then they go back to the Vulcan Rehabilitation Center to reveal this Zavirius character. And he turns around like this, and he just reveals his beard. And they say it's Cybok. Spoilers for Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. I'm looking at it right now. Cybok is Spock's half-brother who acts as, without spoiling it, acts as a villain for that film. Okay? It was contrived then, it's contrived now, but now it's double contrived because we already invented a sister for Spock. So he has a sister, a brother, his dad's a character, his mom's around sometimes. Like, if I'm curious, as to anybody who has not seen classic Star Trek, watching Star Trek since like 2017 with Discovery, are you weirded out by the fact that everything seems to be about Spock? Does that seem strange to you? I'm just curious, because having grown up with it and seen all these things happen in sequence, like decades apart in some cases, it feels more natural. But I can understand if you haven't seen this all along, you might think it's odd that we watched Discovery. Okay, Spock has a sister. Okay. And now Strange New Worlds comes around, and it's like, oh wait, Spock has a brother? When were we planning on revealing this? When it became relevant, as it just did. Cybok, in The Contrivance of All Contrivances, was a character that was invented a long time ago for the film Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. And he had a beard. His defining feature, if you will. And because we know what the beard signifies, that it's Cybok, because we, the audience, knows, the shot composition in the episode has to also know that as well, thus breaking the fourth wall, which I hate. Don't shoot a scene as if we're already supposed to know something. Like, I don't like when a show or movie acknowledges the audience. Do you get my drift? There is no reason to have a shot where we just have Cybok's beard prominently showing there. Like, maybe he shouldn't have a beard, right? Like, why not? Like, sometimes people look different. I haven't always looked like this. I haven't always been bald. Speaking of having always been bald, did you see Star Trek Nemesis? They show a picture of young Picard, and because we associate Picard with baldness, they had to pick a picture where he had shaved his head when he was young, just so that you could see him bald. We're doing it again, but on the bottom of the head, right? Cybok's got the beard. It's Cybok, guys! I saw the thing! They brought back the thing from before! This is Star Trek! This is Star Trek. They brought back the thing from before. Think about that. You know, it's diametrically opposed to Star Trek itself. We're looking to the past for new information. Star Trek, since the dawn of Discovery, 2017, has been primarily about looking backwards to find out new information that we, for some contrived reason, did not know now. When Star Trek used to be about looking to the future to find new information that we can apply today. It's just backwards. Whenever a series starts to fail, look for this. Look for this. When a franchise or series begins to fail, they start to go backwards in time to a more successful era, or an era that they perceive as more successful, and try to mine it for more credibility, we'll say. Credibility is the nice way to say it. Money would be the nasty way. But just look for this. You'll notice it with a lot of things. Instead of going forward, we go back. We go back to what people knew, instead of challenging them with new things. You know? And then, while doing this, they say that, no, you're wrong because you want the same old thing again. You're accusing me of, like, what you're doing. Do you see how that's strange? You know? Like, I don't trust the people who are going to give this a 0. I don't trust the people who are going to give this a 10. I genuinely understand that there's people who are just going to love this. And there's people who are just going to hate it. But, like unflinching 10s and 9s and, like, 1, 2, 0. Those are probably not reasonable scores. I review this as though it's a consumable product that the average person can enjoy and hopefully delve backwards into old Star Trek and use this as a jumping off point, right? This is no longer, in my mind, in the TOS continuity. This is a springboard that a new viewer can use to get into Star Trek. Star Trek Prodigy, I think, did a fantastic job of that. Star Trek Prodigy started off exactly feeling like another very popular sci-fi franchise, and then slowly by the end turned into Star Trek. It was like a trick. We're just going to trick them. But in a good way this time. Not in the weird serialized storytelling, get back here book, if you remember Discovery, type of storytelling. We tricked them in a good way. Tricked them into doing something fun. Into learning fun things. Into thinking a new way. Angel gets away. Pike's back on his ship. Arr, matey. We're gonna have him walk the plank. And then Una, I guess where fun goes to die. Don't do that. Oh, okay. Ha ha ha. Yeah, whatever. Okay. So now that her plot's out of the way, let's move backwards with the knowledge that Angel was our villain. What was going on in this episode really at its philosophical core? Well, Spock, again, is exploring his human side and his Vulcan side. How many more episodes can we have this where Spock is confused about who he is? Guess what? We're not. We've seen more Star Trek than this. Star Trek has been around forever. We know who Spock is. We're going back into TOS to say that Spock doesn't know who he is. Yeah, okay. I'm calling nonsense on that one. No, nonsense. No. Angel, or at this point Dr. Aspen, is a psychiatrist of sorts, like a counselor, okay? And that's fine. And I thought that Aspen portrayed a stronger and more confident demeanor than the average person on the crew. If you look at the way Aspen spoke, not what they said, but how they said it, and the confidence with which they carried themselves, it was much more indicative of the way Starfleet officers used to be. Okay? Every once in a while, something shines through. Like, it was this episode with Dr. Aspen, and Season 4 Discovery at the very end with Reno. Sometimes people just have a presence when they're acting as if they know what's going on, and they're in control. We used to have that in spades in Star Trek. Nowadays, characters say things like, oh, by the way, pro tip, or whatever tweaks your freak, or something, like Ortega said in that one episode. You know, things that you would expect people to say 200 years ago. If you're watching this, try to read a book from 200 years ago. It looks and sounds different, does it not? Yeah. But pro tip, guys, Spock is getting help from Dr. Aspen, and leave it to the villain to tell our characters the truth, right? In the King's Court, the jester can tell the truth. The jester in this episode being Dr. Aspen. Dr. Aspen says, don't worry about, like, what you are. Worry about who you are. You're Spock, right? It doesn't matter if you're a Vulcan or a human. You're just putting yourself into a box. Don't worry about it. She's like the voice of the audience, trying to tell the writers, don't worry about it. Don't worry about Spock's history. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. A defining feature of TOS was that by the end of it, we really didn't know that much about the characters. And it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. The past literally doesn't matter. What we're doing now matters. We like Spock, McCoy, Kirk, Uhura, Sulu, Chekhov, Scotty. We like them because of what they were doing. We like their day-to-day attitude, right? We wanted to live there on the ship with them. We didn't want to hear about their tragic backstory of how their parents died in a shuttle accident, like we learned with Uhura 5 seconds into the series. Blah. So Dr. Aspen has a point, you know. Don't worry. Be happy. As the singing fish in my quarters on the wall said, don't worry, be happy, put me in the water, blah, blah, blah. I have one of those singing fish from ancient Earth. Very cool. Would recommend. So at the heart of this episode, we have duality, right? Like, who are you? Like, what are the people that comprise you? We have, how do we reconcile our light with our shadow, right? Our yin and yang, right? To make a complete person. And Spock has some stuff to chew on. Although the episode seems to imply that we abused Spock's human emotional side to get a win over on the Enterprise, when really we were doing that to the captain. And for my money, Spock seemed mostly emotionless this episode, except for that time where he threw the pirate across the room. Really, Dr. Aspen was tricking the captain. And that evil's on you, Pike. That's on you. Pike managed to take the ship into non-Federation space and just about lose it to pirates. I can understand momentarily losing control of a starship to extraordinary or extreme circumstances that are unpredictable and seem like magic to the untrained eye. You know, I can understand losing it to a totally unpredictable circumstance. I cannot understand losing the Enterprise to ill-equipped pirates of diminutive intelligence. Can you? This is probably one of the biggest black marks on Pike's career. It must be. I would be shitting bricks trying to go back home after this. The explaining I'd have to do. Ugh. You own the problem, Pike. You own it. You left Federation space. We're not saving you now, buddy. We get out of this plot having gained nothing but lost confidence in the crew. I mean, I've lost confidence in La'an's security procedures. I've lost confidence in all the security personnel. And I've lost confidence in ship's records. Remember, there was a real Dr. Aspen, okay? Angel took the place of Dr. Aspen. Did no one on the ship ever meet Dr. Aspen? How much does Angel look like Dr. Aspen? Is there pictures on file in the computer of the Enterprise? Do you think you could just be a pirate, sneak onto the Enterprise, saying you're someone you're not? Does that sound right? You have to get through the transporter, and you have to get through all the personnel who might know what Dr. Aspen looks like, and there is probably, I would think there's security checks where they're going to check your file for Dr. Aspen and then compare it to you. Like, people have licenses for a reason. Why do you think they take a picture of you when they make your license? They want to compare the face, right? How much does Dr. Aspen look like Angel? Or vice versa. I was hoping for a line saying that Angel underwent cosmetic surgery on her face to look like Dr. Aspen, but no such line came up. So at the end of the day, what we have is an episode full of fun, exciting, working parts coming together to create a clunky, broken machine that gives us canon implications that I frankly don't like. I don't like bringing Cybok back. I don't like being reminded of things I didn't like. Thankfully, we didn't have to see Mbenga's daughter again and the implications that brings up. We didn't have to see Pike talking about knowing his future. And we didn't have to see a lengthy, ugly ship-to-ship battle. And we didn't have to see a lot of ridiculous kung fu. Except for that one moment with Spock beating the crap out of people. I don't need to see bizarre martial arts in Star Trek. Like, and I don't mean like, like hitting somebody. I mean like very fast editing, confusing cuts, chops, and like insanity. Keep it simple, guys. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS. Rules to live by, right? KISS. So the Serene Squall, musically, the TOS score popped up again. Admittedly a stupid cartoony moment, but it made me smile. The intro with the Vulcan Rehabilitation Center had an interesting musical accompaniment that I thought set the tone well. Visually, the Vulcan Rehabilitation Center looked cool. Enterprise looked cool as always. The Serene Squall looked putrid, and the little ship that Angel belonged to looked terrible as well. The asteroid field looked very bad. The texture of the asteroids, I could do better. Let's just point that out. These asteroids look like paper mache. Maybe I'd like the episode more if they really were paper mache and the Enterprise was a model this big. Maybe I would enjoy it a little more. But at the end of the day, this episode is one of my least favorite episodes so far. I mean, it has all the qualities you might need to love it. It has intrigue. It has action. It has jokes. It has the few good things maybe from modern Star Trek that you might think could be okay. I'm really grasping at straws here, but I'm gonna have to give this just one a 5. It's just a 5-er. I almost gave it a 4.5, but I changed my mind because we're introducing Cybok. And now we need to explain why, like Uhura was not in this episode, right? Is that because Cybok was mentioned, or something? Like Chapel, I think Chapel overhears Spock talk about Cybok. It's just, I don't like the confusion. I don't like having to worry about that, right? Like, I mean, maybe somehow nobody in the next rotation of crew members of the Enterprise didn't know Cybok, but now we know that they maybe could. I just don't like the confusion. I don't like going back and adding in the fog of confusion, and I don't like bringing in T'Pring. But you'll note there is a moment where Angel and T'Pring were talking on the main viewer in this episode, and Spock gets knocked out momentarily and then wakes up at a later point in the conversation. What were they discussing? Is T'Pring secretly in league with Angel somehow? I doubt it. Am I reading too much into that? You tell me if you've seen this episode. However, this was the Serene Squall. We learned about Spock again. Are you tired of Spock? Guys, remember Spock? Guys, remember Cybok? We're all challenged on the inside. Who we want to be, who we think we are, having come from divergent cultural backgrounds. How do we reconcile them? How does that affect our love life? Are we in love with T'Pring? Are we in love with Nurse Chapel? Ooh, a love triangle. Oh, I love it. Isn't that wonderful? A love triangle that wasn't really there in TOS. Spock went through Ponfar and then needed to find T'Pring in that episode of TOS. Amok Time, I think. So why do we know her now? Chapel was at best charismatically flirty with Spock. At best. But now... everyone is sensational. Everyone's tingling. Everyone wears their heart on their sleeves. Everyone acts like a little kid. Everyone acts like, how close do you want me to get to this thing? First date or second date? No, Ortegas, just get close. What are you talking about? Who are you? Like, what? When were you born? At Strange New Worlds and Modern Trek, for that matter, is a show where Spock is Spock and everyone else acts like a kid. It's weird, but I think the average character should act more like Spock to feel more like who they originally were, and then Spock should act a little bit angrier. If you'll note, Ethan Peck doesn't quite get the anger of Spock right. If you watch TOS, there is a single drop of anger and like pomp and circumstance to the way Spock talks. Like he'll up talk, like he'll say, "Shields up, Captain." Like instead of like he'll raise the tone as it goes, and there's a slight air of superiority in the way he's talking. It's so slight. You need to watch a lot of TOS to get it, but it's really cool. But now Spock is like, instead of saying "Shields up, Captain," like that, Ethan Peck will just go like "Shields up, Captain." Like Spock actually isn't totally monotone, right? And I think they're missing that. That's what I would say for current Spock. The rest of the crew, not monotone enough. Tone it down a bit. Tone it down with the beer commercial and the deodorant commercial stuff, okay? Am I crazy in thinking that the writing here feels like writing that you would see in a commercial for a barbecue or something? Am I crazy? Are you crazy? Are you crazy enough to watch this entire review? Are you crazy enough to watch Strange New Worlds with me? I was crazy enough to watch it 3 times for this review. That was the Serene Squall. And I'm going to see you guys next week in the next episode. Hopefully this review wasn't too crazy, wasn't too meandering, and the cat didn't bother you. See you next time.